Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. And following a disappointing and very underwhelming Raw reunion show last night on Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live decides to build towards SummerSlam, which is what we all need to be watching. And there were some good things to come out of tonight's episode, but there were also some things that still are worth hammering down on, and we are here to talk about it right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's SmackDown Live review. Let's do it. Alright, wrestling fans, thank you once again for joining me. Like I said, SmackDown Live chose to focus on the build for SummerSlam. They did not decide to take an episode to celebrate absolutely nothing at all and waste 3 hours of our time like they did last night on Monday Night Raw. Tonight's SmackDown Live was surprisingly kind of well thought out, at least in the major programs, and I could appreciate the effort that was shown in tonight's episode. It was a pretty good episode. I enjoyed the majority of tonight's show, but that doesn't mean they get a pass just because they entertained me a little bit. There was still a lot right from the get-go that I did not enjoy about tonight's SmackDown Live, and of course, that's what we do here. Ladies and gentlemen, if it's your first time around these parts, this is a review show. That means we critique it, which means we're not always going to be just sniffing its butthole, telling you how rosy it is. We're going to tell you what it really smells like. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're the type of person that doesn't enjoy critiquing things and finding the things that are wrong, which is what we do here. I mean, I don't know why you would click the thumbnail says everything wrong with SmackDown. You gotta believe that we're going to be pinpointing some of the shit that this show throws out at us. But for the most part, this hasn't happened in a long time that we're actually going to be pretty positive, especially pertaining to a couple of people that usually get the hammer brought down on them pretty hard on this show. Everybody, for the most part, was used in a decent direction, building SummerSlam in a way that I am interested in what SmackDown Live is bringing to the table. Whereas Monday Night Raw, I forgot what even is going on over there towards SummerSlam. Nor do I even care to refresh my memory, because it's not even anywhere near as interesting as some of the things we got going on tonight. Tonight, we got to see Shane McMahon coming on down, leaving trails of McSweat all over the place. And this was by far my least favorite moment of the evening. You guys that watch this show, you know we are not a fan of sweat-stained McStunt Pants or whatever funny name we want to come up with him. But there is a light at the end of this tunnel with what they decided to do tonight pertaining to Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens laid out a challenge to Shane McMahon via social media for SummerSlam, and it's going to have some sort of a stipulation, and tonight we were made light of this stipulation, and it is going to be if Kevin Owens loses this match with Shane McMahon at SummerSlam, he will quit the WWE. Now, by far, nobody wants to see that happen. Nobody believes that's going to happen. But what I would like to see happen, and this may be in the cards in the next couple of weeks to come, is not just to have Kevin Owens' career on the line. And if this is in fact the way that they are going to find to write Shane McMahon off of an on-TV role and just put him back in the back where he belongs, then I am 100% for everything we've seen tonight. It didn't need to be a 15-minute diatribe to open the show, but that's what you get when you get Shane McMahon opening an episode of SmackDown Live. So it didn't start out all that great. but it does leave some hope. And I like to cling on to hope. We do focus on the negative here on this show for the most part, but I like to cling on to the possibility of things getting better, which is why we tune in each and every single week. And the one thing that they could do right now to instantaneously make things better is to rid us of the presence of Shane McMahon. So if this is the first step to that, then I'm all for it. But if at no point during this road to SummerSlam does Shane McMahon's career suddenly get put on the line as well, then I don't even know why we're bothering with this whole thing. Of course, I'm going to be interested to see whether or not Kevin Owens is going to end his career at SummerSlam. While I don't expect for that to be the case, it's still going to add some sort of an intrigue to this matchup. You know he's going to have his Shane McMahon clowns somehow involved, much like we had them involved tonight. We've seen Drew McIntyre playing around. We've seen Elias, of course, being side by side with Shane McMahon, and that's what's probably going to end up happening at SummerSlam, and it's either going to make or break the match for Kevin Owens. But the best possible scenario that I could give you to come out of any of this is that we will finally be rid of Shane McMahon. And that was my biggest thing about this whole night. There were a couple of things that I wanted to pick on, like the fact that the WWE decided to advertised all week long that Shawn Michaels was going to be on commentary this week. And then at the start of the show, they're just like, oh, by the way, Shawn's not doing commentary, and we are going to substitute him with the New Day. And at first, I wasn't sure too much how to feel about this. They were kind of annoying on commentary at times, but I did enjoy them at certain points. They did bring a lot of fun to the announce team, which is not something that we hear very often. The way that they were reacting to some of the wrestling that was going on in the ring, they were selling it hard, and I appreciate their enthusiasm. And it made it fun at times, but at different moments it kind of took you out of the match because they were just really going off at points, and it was a little bit distracting. The same can be said for the fact that we didn't have Corey Graves there, and we had to listen to Michael Cole at points on this night, and instead of Byron Saxton, who had to unfortunately step away due to the passing of his father, which is a terrible, terrible thing to have to report to you guys if you missed that on SmackDown Live. That's why Byron Saxton is not around, and our thoughts and prayers go immediately out to the guy and hope for the best for him and a speedy comeback, and hopefully he can get himself back on his feet. I've been in that situation, so I know what the poor guy is going through, but that's no reason to torture me by bringing back David Otunga to put him on the table, which is just another way for me to want to turn the sound off, at the very least, of a half-decent SmackDown Live. But other than those two little things, we have a few good things we have to talk about as well. So let's start talking about this show from top to bottom. Shane McMahon, like we said, kicked this thing off. He got roasted by the crowd immediately. The CM Punk chants, the "You Can't Wrestle" chants immediately rained down on Shane McMahon harder than the buckets of sweat that roll off of the poor guy's forehead. There was no chance. They had to bring out 3 times the mops and buckets so that they can contain all the sweat dripping off of him due to the heat he was getting from the crowd. And it's not the good heat. It's the "we're so tired of seeing your McMahon ass heat, so please get your ass out of here." We had to go back to footage of Kevin Owens quitting after losing to Seth Rollins last year because Shane McMahon wanted to call him a quitter. And while I do appreciate callbacks that have some sort of a relevancy in current day storylines, this kind of seems out of nowhere to me, and it's coming from Shane McMahon, so really I don't care. At the end of the day, like I said, this whole segment was all about Kevin Owens accepting, laying out the challenge for Shane McMahon accepting this challenge, and we are going to have Kevin Owens put his career on the line. Shane McMahon refused to face Kevin Owens tonight on SmackDown Live, and instead put the big dog in his place. Why? Because Shane McMahon still has beef with Roman Reigns. Why? Because Roman Reigns punched Vince McMahon in the face like 9 months ago. And apparently he's still mad and trying to get vengeance for his daddy. And I really could care less about that as well. But they did end up booking this match as the main event of the evening. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, because Shane McMahon said so. Then they make it infinitely worse because Shane McMahon loads this thing with his Nimrods, and he gets Drew McI don't give a shit to be involved. He gets Elias to be involved. One of them's going to be the guest referee. One of them's going to be the guest timekeeper. And just to make it even more cringeworthy, Shane McMahon announced himself as the special guest ring announcer, which is just overboard and overkill. And it definitely brought down the main event segment, but we will get to that a little bit later on. The Intercontinental Championship apparently was on the line. Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura was going one-on-one against Apollo Crews. And while initially it wouldn't make sense to you why this match would be happening, I would be a hypocrite to call bullshit on this match, because what have I been championing for this company to do? Give us matches that we haven't already seen before. And you can start a feud, you can start something with just one match. And if this is a little bit of a spark to something they're leading towards as far as a feud brewing between Apollo Crews and Shinsuke Nakamura over the Intercontinental Championship, based off of the match that we've seen tonight, I am 100% on board with them going forward. This would be a great way to get Apollo Crews over. Look at what he did tonight. If you had any doubt in your mind that Apollo Crews wasn't talented, then he'd shut you up tonight. This guy went out there with one of the best in the world and put on one of the more entertaining matches of the night. He made you believe he could win. This is one of the cases where the New Day on commentary were just so over the top, and they actually added to this match at points, just with their overall excitement for the possibility of Apollo Crews almost getting the win on multiple occasions during this matchup. It didn't suffer from a 2 out of 3 falls bullshit stipulation. They kept with the action and went with the picture-in-picture commercial break, and I appreciated everything about this segment. The action was great. The finish was fine. There is no problem when a champion beats an incumbent challenger while that challenger is trying to establish his route to the #1 contendership. There's no problem with that. This is a great beginning. If they're just going to take this match and throw it away and throw it under the rug and not use it to keep Apollo Crews' momentum moving forward progressively, then they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that's going to go back to everything we tell you guys on a weekly basis about how this company sucks. But this shows promise. This shows you guys that maybe we're taking little baby steps in the right direction. And if this is just a seed being planted for something longer and stronger between these two guys in the future, even beyond SummerSlam, I'm already all in, just based off of tonight's match. It was a great match, great outing for Apollo Crews, great to see Nakamura on the winning column once again, great to see a champion finally winning on TV once again, and I was totally okay with the whole entire match. After the match, Shinsuke Nakamura continued to attack Apollo Crews. He hit him with another Kinshasa outside on the floor. On commentary, the New Day was wondering why nobody was coming out to save Apollo Crews, although they would not be the ones to get up and do so, which I thought was kind of weird, that they would point that out and then not be, getting up and getting in the way. They were all for Apollo Crews throughout the entirety of the match. Why didn't Big E stick his nose in there and try to stop Shinsuke and maybe put his 2 cents in for the Intercontinental Championship? I don't know, but you're going to have him say that comment. Maybe he was just saying it off the cuff, but he didn't realize that he made himself kind of look stupid. Oh, why isn't anybody helping him? Well, why aren't you helping him, bro? What the hell? In one of the weird moments of the night, in the back we have Mandy Rose approaching her tag team partner Sonya Deville. And many of you guys might think I'm going to come down on the fact that it seems like they're going down a female love angle on this, and I have no problem with that. I really could care less about any of that. In fact, I enjoy female love amongst each other. I encourage it. And it's fine. I have no problem with the storyline. The thing that I have a problem with is the fact that Mandy Rose came out here and said to her partner, next week we have a match for the Women's Tag Team Championships versus the champions. If we win that match, we get a shot at the Women's Tag Team Championships. So, is this match next Tuesday a title match or not? Did she slip? I would assume so. Or did she misunderstand what she was supposed to say? Are they going to change it now because of the phrasing that she used during this promo? She botched this promo. There's no doubt about it. Because I left this thing confused. I don't know whether or not we're having a title match, or if they have to beat the champions to earn a title match. And what did we just say about Shinsuke? That's not the way you go about it. They're being handed an opportunity at the champions, and if they beat them, now they're going to get to fight for the championships. That is some BS. And I hate that style of booking. It's WWE's go-to style of booking when they want a new number one contendership. But why are they even bothering with this? What happened to the Sky Pirates, or what are they calling them now? The Kabuki Warriors. Aren't they in line for a title shot? Why are they being overstepped by Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville? When is that title match supposed to be happening? Didn't they win the right to do that? And face the Iconics when they were in that special show in Japan? What's happening? What's happening? So yeah, tonight's show was great at points, but at the same point, here we are. What the hell is happening? Where did that title match go? Did Paige forget to show up and now they didn't want to send out the Kabuki Warriors? What are we doing? We're just completely going to forget that and toss it underneath the rug? Why? And then the girl goes out there and doesn't even announce it right, so I don't even really know what's happening. All we know is that next week they're facing the champions, apparently. Great. One of my favorite parts of the night has been consistently one of my favorite parts of SmackDown Live, even when it's been at its worst over the last couple of weeks, and that was the promo appearance by Ali. Ali's been absolutely red hot with these promos. The guy gets you fired up. The guy makes you want to believe in him. He's got such a passion in his voice and in his delivery, and his message is clear. He doesn't want to stand on his laurels. He wants to show that he earned his way to the top once before, and fate may have put him down, but he's not going to allow that to be his story, and he's going to write a new story. And it's great. His delivery is great. The presentation of them, the framing even of the camera angles and everything, it kind of puts you off center and a little bit like you're not at ease for a moment. But the words he's telling you, he's just bringing you in. And it's classic wrestling promo. That's the way you get people to care about a superstar. We already know what this guy is capable of in the ring, and now you're giving us a reason to care even more about him, because when he speaks, you want to follow him. That's special. That's magical. Not everybody has that. That's that it factor everybody's talking about. When Ali speaks, I stop what I'm doing. I put my phone down. I need to listen to what he's got to say. And then when he's done speaking, I feel inspired. That's awesome. And I can't wait to see where this is going to lead him. Hopefully they don't fail him and do nothing with it. Somehow this is going to lead Ali back to a shot at the WWE Championship. And we'll get back to that in a couple of moments as well. I loved this promo by this guy. Big fan of Ali, as I've always been. But the more these promos show, the greater my backing of him even is, and I can't wait to see more from the kid. We had another episode of MizTV, and while normally I would complain about having back-to-back episodes of MizTV on 2 consecutive shows, tonight's MizTV was actually mildly interesting. And the key players that are involved is what might surprise you guys, because we had a segment here involving Dolph Ziggler that didn't want me to shoot myself in the face. Which, again, I can be very appreciative of that, and that they did something interesting with a guy that has been boring me to death, that has been leaving a trail of tears more than anything else for me to slip on and fall into the Shane McMahon puddle, and I had nothing to do with a Dolph Ziggler. Tonight, what he said, again, was fantastic. And what he did, and the intensity and the fire behind this whole MizTV encounter was great. But when it ends, and you finish this whole segment realizing that all it's leading to is The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam, didn't he kind of get a little bit taken out of the moment again? Because we had some really fantastic interaction between Dolph Ziggler and Shawn Michaels, to the point where all you kind of want to see right now is Dolph Ziggler versus Shawn Michaels. And I don't care if it's the Walmart haircut version of HBK that likes to walk around in his NXT hat, or if it's the HBK of 10 years ago, which obviously we can't have. Nobody's going to say no to a match between Dolph Ziggler and Shawn Michaels. I don't know what his intentions are. We know he's been training down at the Performance Center. I know that he's been giving out lists of superstars that he would love to be wrestling right now, and there are names like Gargano and Styles and probably even Ziggler on that list. And if they bring that to fruition and we have the classic Shawn Michaels versus the modern day Shawn Michaels minus all the championship success in Dolph Ziggler, I could definitely get behind that. But this Miz in this good guy persona, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Miz Dad at all. I prefer the Miz to be the arrogant, cocky moron. He just comes off better. All of this, handshaking, baby-kissing mumbo-jumbo that Dolph Ziggler accused him of is absolutely right. It brings the Miz down. Dolph Ziggler, everything he said tonight was truthful. Everything he said to Shawn Michaels, how he called him out as his last match at the Super Showdown, that tag team matchup, was an embarrassment. And then Shawn Michaels, like a man, owns up to that. He's like, I'm not going to deny that. You're absolutely right. But I'd rather have that one mark of embarrassment on my career than have a career like yours of being the guy that was just this far from getting to the top and just couldn't get the job done. It was a beautifully crafted segment. It goes back to something that we used to say on this show all the time, which I thought I was going to have to say last night, but oddly enough, during the reunion full of legends and old-timers, we didn't have a moment anywhere near as poignant as this. I mean, maybe you want to say the Bray Wyatt Mick Foley interaction, but what have we always said? The old school comes around and they get into these situations where they're cutting promos opposite the new school kids, and they just put them to shame. Shawn Michaels and his delivery and everything he said tonight, with the exception of him pumping up Seth Rollins, because nobody really gives a shit about that. The guy said Seth Rollins is an honorary DX member. Get the hell out of here with that. Nobody wants to hear that. I did enjoy everything he had to say to Dolph Ziggler and everything that did follow. The super kick from Dolph Ziggler that knocked Shawn Michaels out cold was absolutely vicious. This led to The Miz trying to get in some offense on Dolph Ziggler, who would immediately make way to the outside and end this segment walking tall. The Miz left to check on Shawn Michaels. It was very, very good. Very, very good. I enjoyed it. But what is it going to lead to? Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz. So we'll see what happens, I guess. We'll just go with that. We'll see what happens on this one. They've piqued my interest based off of the involvement of Shawn Michaels. Take Shawn Michaels out of the equation. Is it going to keep this intensity? Is it going to keep and sustain the momentum that it's built tonight? We'll have to tune in next week and find out until we get to SummerSlam. We had Ember Moon defeating Charlotte Flair tonight. I have no problem with that. And while initially I was afraid that this was going to turn itself into a way for Charlotte Flair to insert herself into Ember Moon's one-on-one championship opportunity at SummerSlam versus Bayley, that later on in the night would prove to not be the case. But Bayley did come out at the start of the match, right as the bell rang. Charlotte Flair was distracted and Ember Moon rolled her up for a quick pin. And while I do appreciate Ember Moon getting the win, I don't appreciate the fact that the women were given about 3 minutes on this show. And that's really about it. And it's not fair. Ember Moon is a talented individual. Tonight, this match with Charlotte Flair, when I heard that it was announced and the way that they were promoting it on social media leading up to SmackDown, the way they were promoting it during SmackDown Live, it just caused me to believe that they were going to use this as a moment to showcase Ember Moon versus somebody who is talented enough in Charlotte Flair to get her through a good match, and we would see why Ember Moon deserves this shot at Bayley. But instead they took the cheap way out. They made the good guy in Ember Moon have the heel tactic win by having somebody distract her from the outside in order to procure the victory, and in such a cheap and quick and timely manner over somebody like Charlotte Flair. I feel like that was a little bit disrespectful. Well, I don't want to complain, like I said, about Ember getting the win. I don't really care I don't really care either way about Charlotte getting the loss. But the way they showcased and booked this segment was awful. It was disrespectful to the women tonight. All I want to do is see Ember Moon wrestle. You guys that only know of Ember Moon from being on the main roster, you have no idea. She is way more than just a cool stunner from the top rope. And if you don't believe me, and you have the network, go check out her work in NXT, and you'll know that what I'm telling you is a fact. We haven't seen even the slightest of what she could do. And I thought tonight was going to be it. Give her a nice 8-10 minutes to go with Charlotte Flair. Would have done wonders for the way the public views her. But that's not the way we went about it. Then after this, Ember Moon would throw Bayley into the ring. There would be some miscommunication between the two ladies. Flair would rock Bayley with a kick. Ember Moon then would hit the Eclipse first on Charlotte Flair and then go up again and nail it on Bayley, leaving both of these women in a heap in the middle of the ring for a very interesting close to a way too quick segment. Michael Cole joined the commentary booth from this point on for the rest of the night, replacing the New Day. And oddly enough, I found myself preferring the New Day. As much as they were taking me out of the action at times with their shenanigans, over Michael Cole, I would accept the New Day anytime. This is when we were made note that Byron Saxton wasn't there tonight due to the passing of his father last week, and he's taking care of personal business. WWE Champion Kofi Kingston made his way to the ring to issue his SummerSlam challenge. And before we get started about all the great things about what happened in this segment, I don't appreciate the WWE Championship being put up for grabs in an open challenge. It's lazy, it's not creative, and it's not how you go about securing a challenger for a pay-per-view the size of a SummerSlam. This is the second biggest show of the year. Why is the challenger not earning his way to the championship? You're going to have the champion come out like, what, he feels like there's no challengers? Well, that's probably because you have him wrestling Samoa Joe 9,000 times. And he's like, well, if you're not going to give me anybody else, I might as well just make a challenge for myself. And hopefully somebody new comes knocking at the door. We already know going into this thing that Randy Orton wants a shot at the championship. Elias wants a shot at the championship. These are two people we don't want anywhere near the championship. I'm sorry, Randy Orton's case, yes. But Elias, we know we don't want him anywhere near the championship. But doing it in this way and treating the WWE Championship as if it's the United States Championship, you know, when we could just throw out an open challenge and anybody literally could have answered that. What if Zack Ryder answered that challenge? You know, what if some other D-level superstar, I was going to say celebrity, D-level superstar comes out there and answers? Of course it's not going to happen because they're not going to make that happen, but that's the possibilities you get. If you're using logic, you're leaving it open to anyone. I don't like that choice in the booking of this matchup. However, the person who would answer the challenge would end up being Randy Orton, as Kingston called him out to the ring. Now, I don't know how you're going to make an open challenge, but then I guess it was just a straightforward open challenge to Randy Orton at the end of the day. Randy Orton comes out to the ring. He made light of their history, going all the way back to November 16th, 2009, when they did battle in the famed halls of Madison Square Garden, when he gave Randy Orton that boom drop through the table from the stands. And it was a great moment to relive. And then Randy Orton wanted to counter with a little more logic. And he wanted to make certain that Kofi Kingston knows the only reason that championship is on him right now is because Randy Orton took out Ali, who was the person who was supposed to have that championship opportunity. And if not for Randy Orton taking him out, Kofi Kingston doesn't get inserted in that matchup, and none of the things that would transpire following that would have gone down in the first place. Brilliant! So now you have everything starting to make sense. These guys have a long-standing history with each other. Randy Orton is somewhat responsible for the rise of Kofi Mania. And now these two are going to come to a head at SummerSlam. And I'm liking this. I'm liking the build. It's going to be interesting to see where they go. Pardon me. And then this would go immediately into Kofi Kingston's matchup tonight, which was going to be against Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, easily the hardest working man in all of professional wrestling. And I don't know, I will never understand why they are booking him the way he does. The way he's being booked. It's so baffling to me that it makes me lose all of my mental capacity and I start jumbling up my words, because this is a guy that should have been champion multiple times over already. And here he is. Over the last 2 months, I don't think any wrestler on the roster has had a worse 8 weeks than Samoa Joe. When was the last time this guy won? When he got the championship from Rey Mysterio? And then the last time he got it back from him, didn't he have to demand it back from him at some point and didn't actually win it back? When was the last time Samoa Joe won a match? This guy's been on both shows week after week, just going out there and getting beat. That's not the way I want to see Samoa Joe. I also don't want to see him in another matchup with Kofi Kingston tonight. How many times over the last couple of weeks have we seen Kofi Kingston versus Samoa Joe? We've seen it at Extreme Rules. We've seen it a couple of times leading up to that. And how many times do these guys have to lose to the champion before they're just put to the back of the line? Why is Samoa Joe fighting this guy again? He initially got the championship matchup only because he jumped Kofi Kingston. Now it's just like a never-ending cycle of rematches. And I don't appreciate that at all. Well, we did get a very good match between the two. It didn't make sense. It didn't need to happen. You could have definitely ended Kofi Kingston's night with that promo with Randy Orton, and that could have been the end of it. You could have gave more time to the women. You could have came up with a segment for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. You wanted to tease all week long that maybe it's this week Daniel Bryan's going to make his announcement about his career-changing announcement, but then you want to not even have Daniel Bryan show up at all on tonight's show. But you want to have this rematch with Kofi Kingston and Samoa Joe. Didn't make sense. Was a decent match. Randy Orton tried to sneak attack Kofi Kingston with the RKO, but instead Kofi Kingston avoided it and would then hit... Orton then hit the RKO on Samoa Joe instead, and then Kingston nailed Orton with the Trouble in Paradise following the win. And that was how that thing wrapped up. My favorite moment of the night, for sure, was Finn Balor coming out there talking about his interactions with Bray Wyatt, making the challenge and throwing it down to Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam, only to have Bray Wyatt show up in the Firefly Funhouse, along with Mercy the Buzzard and Rambling Rabbit, to answer the challenge. And he told him that he's a really big fan of Finn Balor. I loved the dichotomy of the difference between Bray Wyatt inside the Funhouse and the mindset of the Fiend, which is obviously just an absolute monster. And when he's in the Firefly Funhouse, Bray Wyatt's in his happy place. He's a fan of Finn Balor, and he's trying to warn Finn Balor. He doesn't want Finn Balor to get hurt because the Fiend is not so much of a fan. Bray Wyatt then accepted the challenge for SummerSlam and then started talking about the Fiend. The scream became all distorted and ridiculous, and then the Fiend would then appear. He would do his whole thing to let me in and just fade to black, and it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And it leads into one of the ideas that I have for what the future could hold for Bray Wyatt, but we'll talk about that before the end of this show as well. We had an interview with Charlotte Flair in the back. This is where she made me relieved because I was almost dead positive they were going to insert her into the matchup at SummerSlam for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. However, SmackDown Live, Charlotte Flair says she wants an opponent better than Ember Moon. And I'm stuck thinking, who the hell is that going to be? Who could that possibly be? You go to the list of legends, it's going to be maybe Trish Stratus. It's going to be maybe Lita. You want to talk current day roster? Maybe this is where they're going to bring back Sasha Banks. Charlotte Flair thinks she's going to show the world that she's the better of the two. And maybe Sasha Banks one-ups her, becomes the legit boss. And then we go down that road with her. I don't know if she's ready to come back just yet. But who the hell else could she possibly be talking about? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who could Charlotte Flair have possibly been talking about that's going to be so much better than Ember Moon that is going to show that she is the greatest women's wrestler of all time? I shudder to think what the WWE is going to come up with there. Then we had the end of the evening, which definitely brought me a little bit back down to earth because while like I said, I appreciate the direction they might be going if this is going to write Shane McMahon off of TV. Here we are again in a main event segment featuring Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, Shane McMahon, Drew McIntyre, and Elias. And I certainly really don't care about what's happening involving this match. All I want to see is this SummerSlam matchup between these two and get this over with and get Shane off TV. And if that's not where this is going, then I don't want to see it at all. The end of this show was just so brought down by the way they presented it. They had Shane and Drew and Elias all come out one at a time, really playing up their advantage here, that they were going to have the numbers advantage. Shane McMahon waiting for Roman to come out, waiting for Kevin Owens to come out, and then he wants to announce them both like it's going to have this championship big fight feel. He wants to throw little digs in his entrance. He wants to take way too much time. And then this match essentially really doesn't happen because it all becomes shenanigans. Shane and the crew start trying to get involved. Next thing you know, Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, while they were almost going to be at odds with each other, end up pairing up with each other to fend off the attack of Shane McMahon. Next thing you know, Kevin Owens is dropping stunners all over the place like he should have showed up and did last night to make the Raw reunion worth watching. And the show ends with Roman Reigns and hitting a Superman punch on Shane McMahon. Kevin Owens hits 2 stunners on Shane McMahon at the encouragement of the crowd, and SmackDown Live goes off the air. And the one other problem I have with this, not that I give a shit about seeing Shane McMahon getting hit with stunner after stunner, but they lost the art of making things special. Shane McMahon should have escaped Kevin Owens' attempt at the stunner. He should have stunned Elias. He should have stunned Drew McIntyre. He should have missed the stunner on Shane McMahon and then turned around and stunned Roman Reigns. And that would have been a better way to go about finishing tonight's show, because you need to build up a reason to want to see these two guys. If we've already seen Kevin Owens hit the stunner on Shane McMahon, how special is it going to be when he hits it on Shane McMahon at SummerSlam? They don't know how to protect moves anymore. They don't know how to protect that any more than they know how to protect their superstars. We should call them stupid stars in some cases. But it's still a lot of WWE garbage that we had to bring the hammer down on and show you guys everything wrong with tonight's SmackDown Live. I'm sure I missed a couple of things, and I leave that up to you guys. If you guys found anything wrong with this episode of SmackDown Live that I didn't talk about here on tonight's episode of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, feel free to drop those truth bombs down in the comments section below. I always look forward to seeing what you guys have to say about tonight's show, my show included. If you like tonight's show, I encourage you all to smash that thumbs up. Bring your hammers down on that thumbs up icon right now and let the whole entire world know that you are A-OK with what we are doing here at Sledgehammer TV. And most importantly, we are trying to get to that elusive 2,000 subscribers before the end of July. And you guys can help us do that by hitting that subscribe button right now, and hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss some of the things we got coming up on this channel, including Well, this is yesterday's down pretty hard on that one, but if you missed that, you can go back and see it right now. I got all discombobulated here because all I wanted to show you is what we got right now. There you go. In production right now, 5 ways to book Bray Wyatt. One of those ways, I'll give you guys a little sneak sneak peek into that. I don't know why I'm messing up so much tonight, but one of the things I would like them to do is Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor, which we are obviously on the road to, but it's going to be interesting to see the path that they choose with these two superstars. I have my own path that I have written for them, and it'll be interesting to see if we're on the same page with where the WWE goes. So I encourage you guys to check it out, because the number one thing on that list is going to be something I don't think many people have been anticipating, and I'm sure it'll shock you to see what I've come up with, and it'll definitely be worth the watch. Don't forget to check out last night's Raw review. As always, we have brought the hammer down on Hollywood. Recently, we took the hammer straight to Spider-Man Far From Home, as well as Avengers Endgame, Game of Thrones, and Hammering Hollywood is still firing on all cylinders. Let me know if there's something coming up that you guys want to hear my reviews on for the Hollywood portion of this show, and I will try to accommodate that as best I can. I might be doing a review of Batman Hush, the new animated Batman movie that I just happened to get my hands on and will be watching hopefully as soon as I wrap this shit up, which we are going to do right now. Don't forget to share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world so that they too can join the coolest, newest faction in all of the YouTube wrestling community, the Sledgeheads of Sledgehammer TV, home of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, your new favorite wrestling show, and I can't thank you guys enough for being here. Let's get that number to 200. I apologize for all my flubs tonight, and hopefully I get my shit a little bit back together. Look forward to all of the new videos, and we will see you guys next time. That, my friends, is going to do it. This is the team Thor, the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball, the most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you have been watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show Smackdown live review only on Sledgehammer TV right here on YouTube.com, and we'll see you next time. Boom.